All right. So today, what we're doing is we're going to work on this dread specifically. We're going to block in the base. We're going to work on the metals. So I think we'll start with the base. Just because I like getting a little bit of the slop work out of the way. I'm going to do the base in gray. Just going to lay down a solid base coat. Starting this at about 2:30.
Think that with the right amount of hatred, it can give you fuel to do far more creative projects and explore new areas that other games and genres aren't doing.
It is easier to describe something you hate than something you love. It is easier to critique than to praise. It is easier to understand the fault in one's work or one's understanding of the world than it is to provide insight as to how they got to that rationale in the first place. This begs the question, is it that surprising when a platform that gives the power of expression to its audience is riddled with critique? There is no shortage of videos on YouTube tearing down art, and definitely no shortage of curious onlookers. Taking your passions and turning it into strength is a core belief of the Sith in Star Wars. And what irony that is, seeing as the most elegantly written Star Wars game spawned from this notion. One, it itself critiques. I am of course talking about Knights of the Old Republic 2, the Sith Lords. It's actually kind of nice going back to this game because my very first video was on this topic to a degree. Knights of the Old Republic 2, or KOTOR 2 for short, is my favorite Star Wars game ever made. Better than Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast, Jedi Knight Jedi Academy, and KOTOR 1. The themes of individuality, predetermined fates, choices, morality, and the critiques of the mythos as a whole are absolutely captivating. Sure, KOTOR 1 had a great adventure narrative with a shocking twist, but KOTOR 2 actively decided to take a sledgehammer to everything we accepted as truth. To view the Star Wars universe of Jedi, Sith, Empires, Rebellions, Scavengers, Mandalorians, and everything else in between as flawed. A whole 13 years before The Last Jedi tried and, in my opinion, failed to do. There are far longer analytical videos that do justice to these topics, so I won't delve into those today. What I wanted to focus on was the motivation that led to this work of art and how it reminded me of one important lesson. Hatred is a gift. Those 4 words were written out in a presentation by the game's lead designer and writer, Chris Avallone, at Framework 2009. A veteran in the gaming industry who was behind titles such as Planescape Torment, Icewind Dale, Neverwinter Nights, Alpha Protocol, and Fallout New Vegas. In said presentation, Chris adamantly believed that hatred is what drives the art form forward. To critique what you believe to be flawed about a product and attempt to understand what could be better. When Obsidian was given the opportunity to make a sequel to KOTOR, Chris's response was not one of joy. Rather, it was of hesitation and frustration. It wasn't pure seething hatred for the Star Wars franchise, as he was a fan of it in his youth. Instead, it was hatred for a specific element that, as a whole, infected every aspect of said universe. The Force. The idea of this indescribable force of nature that essentially predetermined the fate of the galaxy was not one he was a fan of. an influence that attempted to reach a measure of balance which led to needless conflicts across millennia. That those who studied and controlled it were giving away their individuality to a higher power that did not care about them as people, rather as a collective that served the goal of cycle destruction and rebirth. When it came to designing the characters, Chris decided to have ones that were specifically meant to examine different threads of the Force. One that consciously decided to remove themselves from it, one who had been stripped of it, one who was consumed by it, and one who used it to keep themselves going through immeasurable anguish, providing insight into the mindset of one who just can't enjoy a space opera about galactic wars and space wizards. I think we've all experienced this at one point or another with a piece of media, whether it's one we used to love or one we never liked in the first place. The idea of one concept that inadvertently sours your entire experience because of what you see as ultimately harmful towards the characters of said world. For example, Luke Skywalker's pessimistic attitude in The Last Jedi. There was an endless sea of videos from fans of all walks of life who felt disgusted at Luke's change from the optimistic Jedi Knight who redeemed his father's fall from grace to a washed-up hermit who hides from his problems. People who took said negativity and used their passion to create content for the enjoyment of others. Where I think many get it wrong, however, is that the critique can often slip into venting when it's supposed to unite people. KOTOR 2 doesn't scream its criticism at you, nor does it tell you that you are somehow at fault for enjoying it. It is a Star Wars game through and through, and anyone who enjoys Star Wars will love it. However, it also doesn't prop up those who agree with him as righteous, but rather frames it as frustration with purpose. Chris presents his critique of this once seemingly innocent concept and allows the player to determine whether or not the argument is sound. To tell the audience, your universe is hiding a terrible reality, and I want to show you what that is.
It is said that the Force has a will. It has a destiny for us all. I wield it, but it uses us all, and that is abhorrent to me, because I hate the Force. I hate that it seems to have a will, that it would control us to achieve some measure of balance when countless lives are lost. But in you, I see the potential to see the Force die, to turn away from its will, and that is what pleases me.
The best narratives in any media are the ones that let the viewer come to their own conclusions with the information presented, rather than explicitly telling you what you should or should not believe in. KOTOR 2 is a persuasive essay on the Star Wars mythos, put into video game form. It is there to bring a counterpoint to everything the series had established. The thesis is that the Force is a horrifying concept that has caused needless conflicts that span generations and should be destroyed. Its main arguments are that it leads to the lack of individual power, it builds ignorance over time, and it causes the supposed need for balance. Its supporting claims are the supposed fall of the greatest Jedi general of the Mandalorian Wars, Revan, the extremist views of the Jedi and Sith, and conflicts such as the Mandalorian Wars and the Jedi Civil War. Any persuasive essay also needs an opposing view, and that opposing view is held by the remnants of the Jedi Council and the remaining members of the Sith Triumvirate, dared to showcase the ideas that were once unchallenged by its world. The conclusion is a challenge of philosophical beliefs with the main antagonist that is directly influenced by the actions of the player, tying in the narrative and the gameplay mechanics to go into one final challenge. All in service in making the universe a better place, which is a key distinction. None of this is about telling the audience their universe shouldn't be loved. Rather, it is about understanding what could be improved, and sometimes that improvement requires potentially sacrilegious intentions, such as the death of the Force. With how elegant KOTOR 2 was able to present these ideas, it ended up resonating with me out of the blue. I had done research on this before for my first video, and it hadn't dawned on me until now that I could have been applying Chris's approach to my own work all this time. See, I strove to be overtly positive in my videos, to be less of a critique that spewed negativity or came out from a negative mindset. Most of my videos are about the positive aspects of media, even those that have critiquing in them. I normally attempt to give them their fair shake. It didn't occur to me that creativity fueled by hatred doesn't have to be hateful in nature. As content creators, our audiences are attracted to our opinions. We shape our community based on the tone we present. I struggled constantly with thinking a critique was too negative or I would turn people away by being stern about my beliefs. Chris Avalo taught me that it was okay to delve into the darker aspects of my analytical mind and to use that to give my audience a better product, to create discussion, as KOTOR 2 certainly has over a decade onward. KOTOR 2 continues to shine as a brilliantly woven nick tearing down art and definitely no shortage of love. It is easier to critique than to praise. It is easier to understand the fault in one's work or one's understanding of the world than it is to provide insight as to how they got to that rationale in the first place. This begs the question, is it that surprising when a platform...
Okay, now we're going to move on to metal.
and that gives the power of expression to its audience is riddled with critique. There is no shortage of videos on YouTube tearing down art, and definitely no shortage of curious onlookers. Taking your passion and turning it into strength is a core belief of the Sith in Star Wars. And what irony that is, seeing as the most elegantly written Star Wars game spawned from this notion. One, it itself critiques. I am of course talking about Knights of the Old Republic 2, the Sith Lords. It's actually kind of nice going back to this game because my very first video was on this topic to a degree. Knights of the Old Republic 2, or KOTOR 2 for short, is my favorite Star Wars game ever made. Better than Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast, Jedi Knight Jedi Academy, and KOTOR 1. The themes of individuality, predetermined fates, choices, morality, and the critiques of the mythos as a whole are absolutely captivating. Sure, KOTOR 1 had a great adventure narrative with a shocking twist, but KOTOR 2 actively decided to take a sledgehammer to everything we accepted as true. To view the Star Wars universe of Jedi, Sith, Empires, Rebellions, Scavengers, Mandalorians, and everything else in between as flawed. A whole 13 years before The Last Jedi tried, and in my opinion failed to do. There are far longer analytical videos that do justice to these topics, so I won't delve into those today. What I wanted to focus on was the motivation that led to this work of art, and how it reminded me of one important lesson. Hatred is a gift. Those 4 words were written out in a presentation by the game's lead designer and writer, Chris Avellone, at Framework 2009. A veteran in the gaming industry.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is Quinn, and I know that I normally don't do this, but I'm recording this in the middle of the day. There's some stuff happening, so forgive me for any background noise that might occur throughout. Unfortunately, I don't really have all that much time these days. Normally, I would go through articles like these and make like a concise little video with all my commentary and nicely produced and everything, but I really have all that much time these days with writing my thesis and such. So I figured I'd just do a video where I just read through the article. I haven't read it myself yet. I decided to keep it fresh for a video like this and give my commentary along the way. So bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. We are reading Knights of the Old Republic 2 developer Chris Avellone discusses the game's impact 15 years later by Jordan Mason. This was published on Cinelinx.com. Without further ado, let's jump right in. 15 years after the launch of Knights of the Old Republic 2 The Sith Lords, the game still holds a special place in the hearts of many fans. Ding dong! This guy right here. To commemorate the RPG's 15th anniversary, I chatted with the game's lead designer and writer, Chris Avellone, about all things KOTOR 2, from the rushed production, his favorite elements, and the game's lasting impact. Avellone offered me a candid look at the development of the RPG sequel. Chapter 1. An exciting opportunity. Actually, no, I'm not going to keep up with the chapter thing. An exciting opportunity. Knights of the Old Republic feels like a watershed moment in Star Wars gaming. The first role-playing game in the franchise, its story-driven nature immersed fans in the galaxy far, far away like never before. To LucasArts, it was clear they had something special on their hands, even before BioWare launched the game in summer 2003, and they wanted to start development on a sequel as soon as possible. BioWare was eager to work on their own IP, which, if memory serves, and ended up being Mass Effect, but directed LucasArts' attention to a new studio, Obsidian Entertainment. Now, that I didn't know. It was BioWare who suggested they go to Obsidian Entertainment. Interesting. I guess because Obsidian Entertainment had worked on like sequels to BioWare games in the past. Like at that point, it was like Neverwinter Nights 2. Yeah, Obsidian made. Mm-hmm. Created in June 2003 by Fergus Urquhart, Chris Avalon, Chris Parker, Darren Monahan, and Chris Jones, Obsidian's founders came with a solid RPG pedigree. Yes, as I described Obsidian Entertainment time and time again, they're like the phoenix rising from the ashes of Black Owl Studios. But anyway, each had come from Black Owl Studios. I should have just read the next line. Working on iconic RPGs like Icewind Dale and Fallout 2, while collaborating with BioWare to publish the Baldur's Gate series. This relationship ultimately brought them to LucasArts' attention. Was I wrong earlier about the Neverwinter Nights? Or maybe I was. Anyway, we were enormously fortunate to have BioWare recommend us to work on KOTOR 2. Avalon is quick to point out, especially as a fledgling studio. They're the reason we got the chance to work on the sequel. So we owe Dr. Ray Mazika and Greg damn Sechuk. Sechuk? Yeah, Greg
Oh my god.
the studio heads the
Guy.
time of Big Dev.
Jesus.
This is the one we'll use. Okay, so are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, I'm just gonna do like a snag.
It's quick to point out.
discuss Carmel's 4 pillars of success, the importance of networking, how to build out your portfolio, and more. Check it out.
All right, Carol Kirshner, welcome back to Right On. How have you been since we last spoke?
I have been great, although I'm sort of embarrassed to say that because it's been such a crazy time, but I've been very fortunate and I'm doing really well. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I feel the same way. I think it's really important to just like find that gratitude and actually feel it and appreciate it for every single little thing, even these ups and downs of like opening up and closing back down and opening up. And so, yeah, good on you for staying positive and grateful, right?
Absolutely grateful all the time. I like to say I am the luckiest woman in show business. I truly am, because I don't have to sell anything.
Yeah.
People return my calls, not because of who I am, but because of the programs I'm involved with. And I just help people. So it doesn't get better than that.
I'm of the same thought process, right? Like, I just love doing and giving for other people, and it fulfills me just probably more than, whatever the get is, or, the introduction, or whatever the thing is, and more good stuff keeps happening. So I'm like, let's just keep it up, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the philosophy for today.
Yeah. Well, so last time we spoke, we were talking about fellowship season. Everyone was getting their applications in. I believe we're almost at the end of that, right? The Blacklist Lab, I think it's tomorrow, and there's a couple of others that are still open. So, but are folks seeing results back yet for like first round or second round? Do we know?
Well, I can only really talk about my program, CBS, and we're in the process of doing the reading now. We give, the way it works, if people are interested, is we have like 1,600, 1,700 applications and submissions. So we have people do the first read and then a second read. And if those two scores are high, or if one is high, one is low, then we do a third read. And then after all of that is done, then it comes to me and my colleague Jean now.
Got it.
So I'm in the process of reading a lot of scripts right now.
I feel you, sister.
And the surprising thing this year is there's so many comedy writers.
Wow. I haven't actually looked at the stats of what genre is heavy this year, because I'm just blown away at the volume that we're receiving for Big Break myself. Yours is much more, concentrated of the program. But, so something that we both have in common is that we have contestants, applicants who have a long waiting period.
Yes, it's very frustrating.
Yeah, and I think that's a good segue into what we want to talk about now. This is something they can distract themselves with, maybe working on for their own brand, for their own career. So you talk about something called the 4 pillars of success. What is that, first of all?
Sure. Well, throughout my career, I've been really fortunate to work with some very successful people. And I was always curious about what separated the successful people from the people that gave up and went back to Ohio and sold insurance. And so I studied the successful people, and I thought, what do they have in common? And I came up with 4 things. And I call them the 4 pillars of success. And what they are is, these people that are successful have blazing hot material, regardless of whether it's a script or they're directors and it's their reel, what they've shot. It's blazing hot. It's not just kind of good, it's really good. They have a smart self-marketing strategy, and I can go into that a little bit more. They know how to talk about themselves in a way that gets people intrigued and leaning forward and wanting to know more and wanting to work with them or hire them or help them. Then the third thing is, they all have, well, not every single one of them, but most of them have a comprehensive and ever-growing community of mutually beneficial relationships. They had contacts. And then the fourth is they were industry savvy. They didn't have to know about the whole industry, but they were clear about their part of the business. And that's what I work with my clients on, is all 4 of those things.
What response do you get from your clients when you break all that down initially? Does it feel overwhelming to them before you explain each thing in detail, or are they welcoming to this strategy?
How interesting. actually thought about it like that, but if I think about it, I think that for most of them, it's very comforting to know, okay, here's the 4 things I need to do. If I do this, then the chances of my success are much higher. And it's very compartmentalized and actionable. And I think that they respond to it. I mean, yeah, they do. I mean, people stay with coaching, so.
Yeah, like I guess what I'm getting to is it seems to me when the overall industry and breaking in and that whole conversation seems very unattainable for most people, but when you break it down to these 4 bites of what you need to do, I feel like for me that would really help me feel like a lot less like I'm driving blind, you know?
Yes. It's concrete and it's specific. And I think that people, I mean, when I work with all levels of people in my private coaching, but the people that are just starting out, they just go, I don't know how to do it. Just tell me how to do it. And these are sort of the 4 things you need to be in place as you move forward in order to break through.
And it's also, too, I'm totally just adding on to this, when you put it in your pitch, looking at each one of these, there's always something to do within the 4 pillars, right? So if you're stuck on your script, go look at your 4 pillars maybe and see, what have I done to market myself? What have I done to grow my community? And so on and so forth. So I feel like it's probably a good way to make writers feel like they don't always have to be writing in their script to be working on their career, so to speak.
Actually, writing is only part of your career.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing the business is equally as important. As you said, marketing yourself, equally as important. In fact, what I do with a lot of my clients, the ones that are
Fuck. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to listen to anything. I don't want to watch anything. I don't want to do anything. I am lost. I don't know what to fucking do. So bored. People have such strong opinions. It's fascinating, isn't it? Let's look at this guy's picture real quick. All right. Interesting. These for sure. So I think that most of the chair. What are you? Without a problem. That's interesting. Okay. Where is my blue? That was annoying. Son of a bitch. Where is... Fuck. Emotions. It's just needed two. Back to that in a few. I now need a smaller brush. So I'm going to have to go get a smaller brush. So I'm going to go do that. Oh god, it's 7 hours long?
We have all but destroyed the Jedi Knights. The old Republic is crippled. They can do nothing to stop us now. But there is one thing standing in our way. One last Jedi who has yet to choose his true role in the galaxy. If he joins us on the path to darkness, those who fight alongside him will follow. But if he takes the path of a Jedi, those who join him will feel the vengeance of the dark side. The highly anticipated sequel to the 2003 Game of the Year, Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic 2, The Sith Lords. Winter 2004.
Multiple hull breaches. Proximity alert. The Evan Hawk is adrift in space after a terrible battle. Most of its crew are dead or dying. You lie in the medical room in critical condition. You won't survive long without medical attention. The hyperdrive is damaged. Main power must be restored in order to bring the engines online and dock with the nearby Paragus mining station, where much is repaired. Your fate and that of the Evan Hawk depend upon T3M4, a lone astromech droid. Return to this location at any time to skip the prologue.
Hey.
Hey.
I'm done. I'm just gonna be out here working.
All right, babe.
Do you need anything?
No.
No.
Buddy.
Coming in. It's staying out. Coming in. Coming.
All right.
Love you.
Love you.
Find what you're looking for amongst the dead. Close to death. Yes, closer than I'd like. You have the smell of the Cotto tank about you. How do you feel? Yes, I had hoped as much. I slept here too long and could not awaken. It may be I reached out unconsciously, and your mind must have been a willing one. Perhaps you have been trained for such things. I am Kreia, and I am your rescuer, as you are mine. Tell me, do you recall what happened? Your ship was attacked. You were the only survivor. A result of your Jedi training, no doubt. Your stance, your walk tells me you are a Jedi. Your walk is heavy. You carry something that weighs you down. So it would seem. Keep your past and let us focus on the now. I do not know. I was removed from the events of the world as I slept. A survey of the surroundings may provide the answers we seek. The ship we arrived in must still be in this place. We should recover it and leave. We were attacked once, and I fear our attackers will not give up the hunt so easily. Without transport, weapons, and information, they will find us easy prey indeed. Even as I slept, I felt much unrest here. I saw strange visions, minds colored with fear. Now, everything here feels terribly silent. I would find out as much as you can about this place quickly. I fear we will need to depart as suddenly as we arrived. You may wish to extend your search to some clothes, if only for proper first impressions. I'm not offering to help you. I'm not so young as to leap from death's door as quickly as you. I leave you to the explorations of this place. Here I will remain and attempt to center myself. There is much energy in the room beyond, yet it stems from nothing that lives. Can you not sense them? Reach out, cast aside your sight, cast aside what you see, and instead reach out with your perceptions. Ah, you can feel them. The droids you cannot perceive, but the small oscillations of energy, that you can feel, echoing outwards. Ah, you hear it. It is faint, but it is there. It is the Force. You feel it. It has not been so long as for you to forget. Do not turn away from it. Listen. Feel it echoing within you. Come. I shall guide you down the familiar paths. You will need it if we are to survive and escape this place. Beyond this door, someone yet lives. Be mindful. His thoughts are difficult to read. But you have nothing to fear from this one, and he might yet prove useful.
Nice outfit. What, you miners change regulation uniform while I've been in here? Atten Rand. Excuse me if I don't shake hands. The field only causes mild electrical burns. You mean before or after that Jedi showed up? Either way, it's a real short story. You see, this Jedi shows up, and you know what that means. Where there's one Jedi, the Republic will soon be crawling up your ion engine in no time. But the story gets better. See, some of the miners get it into their ferrocrete skulls that since the Jedi's unconscious, they can collect the bounty the exchange has posted for live Jedi. Well, what passes for the law here didn't like that idea. So the two groups started fighting.
Then there was some big explosion, and then I was sitting here for a long time, waiting for some half-naked miner to show up and ask a bunch of questions.
Don't know much about it. Maybe the exchange wants one as a trophy, or somebody's got something against Jedi and is looking to collect. Not many Jedi left. Wouldn't surprise me if the bounty's pretty high. The ones that weren't killed in the Jedi Civil War ended up switching off the lightsabers long ago. Word is there's not even a Jedi Council anymore, but who knows? Yeah, Revan, Malak, and the Jedi that went to join them in the Mandalorian Wars. They turned against the other Jedi and had a scrap that almost laid waste to the galaxy. Where have you been?
Well, I wasn't there, but like all Sith, Revan and Malak turned on each other. After they turned on the Jedi, of course.
I guess. There's rumors all over space about it. All I heard was Revan returned to pay Malak back for trying to kill her in the first place. You know, women. Maybe you're right. Maybe I just hope Revan was a woman. Look, no offense or anything, but your weird half-naked interrogation isn't my idea. Hey, wait a minute. You're that Jedi the miners were talking about. Where is everybody? The miners can't all be gone. But if they are, look, hey, let me out and I can help you. I can. I've gotten out of trouble countless times. Just in case you don't understand the trouble we're in, let me lay it out for you. This facility is a series of mining tunnels dropping kilometers into the asteroid's core. Every worker and droid here has been cleared, then triple cleared for hazardous operations. This facility has an operational threat level so high they don't let uncleared starships in system out of fear that an accidental engine discharge will create a very brief, very hot new sun in this sector. You know why? Because every asteroid in its orbiting minefield has deposits of palladium fuel within it. That means when one decides to pop, its brothers and sisters are going to come along for the ride. One explosion, you might survive. But 100? 1,000? You'll be riding out of here on a comet trail, Jedi. So if something's gone wrong here, you can cling to the Force all you want. But nothing will stop this place from going critical. This facility isn't a military installation, which means we may have a chance. You shut down the cell security field, and I can reroute the emergency system so we can get to the hangars. We grab a ship, and then we fly out of here. Great. Now to business. Let's get to the command console. All right, here we are. Now this console is set on automatic hail. You may have heard it when you came in. The asteroid drift charts are constantly being updated. So it sends out a transmission to incoming vessels so they don't get crushed into space dust. The hail warns them to keep their distance until orbital drift charts are transmitted, and then provides docking instructions to incoming ships, usually freighters. Thing is, you can bounce that same transmission back to the comm here, and suddenly you've got access to a communication system from the inside. Pure Bazak. The console's ours. Now, all we need to do is reactivate the turbo lifts, cancel the emergency lockdown, and hey! This system's been severed from the main hub after it was locked down from remote. You can't even reroute the system. It's been cut clean. Now, someone tried to lock down this whole level tight and leave us here, trapped. I doubt it. All we have is communications back. For all the good trying to shout in a vacuum will do us. Be my guest. Not much else we can do. The com's all yours. So is that stupid droid of yours going to come through or not? Well, I'm beginning to think I was a little better off in my sleep. Hey, what do you know? A little cargo cylinder came through. If he got the turbo lifts working, then we should have a clear run to the hangar. Wait. Don't tell me you're taking that hatch down into the mining tunnels. Are you? That explosion I heard came from below. There's probably nothing down there except superheated rock and collapsed blast tunnels. You'd be an idiot to go down there. You're either really brave or really crazy. Or both. Alright, I'll try to monitor things from up here. Be careful. The only thing moving down there is likely to be mining droids, so don't be playing hero too hard. Not that I care what happens to you or anything. I just don't want to be trying to get off this rock by myself. I'll keep the comm link open. I may be able to guide you through the tunnels from up here. Don't know if the signal will hold if you get too deep, though.
Can you read me? There's a lot of interference down there, probably caused by that explosion. Still, it looks like there's a route down to the Paraga's fuel depot. If the passages haven't collapsed, that explosion knocked out most of the sensors. There should be an emergency crate in the next room. Watch yourself. There's a lot of droid broadcasts in that area, but I can't pin them down. Will do. And be careful down there. Find the emergency supplies. About time. The whole half-naked Jedi thing was wearing a little thin. But there may be some survey gear and the safety harness inside the crate, too. The miners wear them when staking claims on the asteroids. Survey gear is designed to spot and protect you against sonic mines. And the safety harness can be helpful if you try to disarm. Just one more thing. I've narrowed down some of the ID signals, and if the numbers are right, you're sharing those tunnels with a battalion of mining droids. You could, if you have the skill in a stealth field generator. These droids rely on thermal sensors, primarily to detect fuel deposits. The good thing is, that explosion down there kicked up so much heat and steam it may blind them. A bit, but not much. There's got to be some central controller down there. See if you can find a terminal by the main access shaft. That'd be governing intelligence. You're getting close to something big. I think it's the main ventilation shaft. If so, the central droid controller should be somewhere nearby. Keep an eye out for it. I'm picking up a lot of droids. If you still have a mining energy shield, I'd equip it and switch it on. Yeah, picking up some strange readings. What are you doing down there? The containment fields in the mining tunnels are shutting down. You need to get out of there before they vent fuel to the surface of the asteroid through the tunnels. I may be able to keep it contained until you get the turbo lift to the fuel depot, but not for much longer. I'm locking down the turbo lift to the administration section now to keep the blast from spreading. If you've got anything left to do down there, make it quick, because where you are is going to get real hot real soon.
Greeting. It is a pleasure to see you alive, Master, provided my receptors are not off focus. How may I be of assistance? Answer. I am a survivor of the Harbinger, just as you were, Master. With the unexpected termination of my previous Master, you are the only organic which I may now serve. Answer. The captain of the Harbinger, Master. I was in transit to Telos to facilitate communications and terminate hostilities. However, we did not arrive at our intended destination. Irritated answer. Oh, Master, it is such a long, dull story, and not terribly relevant to our current situation. Hesitant explanation. That has been the subject of considerable discussion since our arrival here, Master. Many have attempted to claim you and this unit as salvage. I was crudely interrogated concerning our brief history together on board the Harbinger, before its communications, weapons, and engines suffered the cascade failure that disabled the ship. Speculation. It is possible you were incapacitated and locked in the well-shielded cargo compartment as the Harbinger was being systematically crippled, Master. Clarification. Yes, Master. No doubt the flurry of destruction on board the Harbinger somehow drugged you into a stupor from which you could not awaken. Most curious. Placation. Merely a turn of phrase, Master. The implication that your state was due to the result of ingesting large quantities of jewel juice was unintentional. I meant to communicate only that you were somehow rendered unconscious before you were locked securely in the cargo hub. Clarification. By locked, I meant sealed, Master. My vocabulator seems to be malfunctioning. Recitation. Following the unusual set of coincidences that led to the cascade failure in the Harbinger systems, we were boarded by a small freighter with unknown ID codes. It appeared that this freighter had been attacked, and the captain wanted to study it. This freighter appeared to be still spaceworthy. Your cargo compartment was...
I'm going to take 5 and come back.